Wild Hearts will go down as one of this year's most fun action RPGs. There's a lot to cover, so stick with me if you want to know the truth about this game from a Monster Hunter fanboy who's put in 60 plus hours. Before I start, I want to be straight up and say I do not think this game is replacing Monster Hunter, a franchise with so much history. It is, however, a great game, and while there are comparisons to be made, I'm judging it as the new IP that it is. First off is the story, which is okay, nothing amazing. It's your typical monster hunting story. You're the savior who comes to Azuma to rescue the city of Minato, which is on the brink of destruction by threatening monsters. The monsters in this game are known as kimonos, some of which are extremely challenging. A little more on that in a bit. The one thing I will say is the character customization is so deep that it's pretty cool seeing your character in cutscenes, but there's a lot of dialogue. I appreciate the devs taking the time to build the characters and the story of Minato, but it got a little OD at times, and there were points where I skipped ahead to get to the action. The story part of the game is about 40 to 50 hours long, and yes, there's plenty of in-game content. It really opens up after the credits roll. There is 3-player co-op in this game. It's cross-play, so all platforms can party up, and it's pretty seamless for the most part. The RPG elements of Wild Hearts are deep, but not as complex as Monster Hunter. For example, in this game, you can craft tons of different types of armor, but you can't upgrade them with, say, armor spears. There's large upgrade trees for all 8 of the different weapons, but you can't add decorations to them to change the skills. Wild Hearts keeps it pretty basic in that regard and provides you with 5 talisman slots to pick and choose what skills you want to add to your kit. There's still a lot of items to farm and drops from all the kimono and creatures, so this game isn't short on materials by any means. I want to make that clear, just not as many as the other hunting game. While I think that makes this game more accessible, dedicated Monster Hunter fans might find that to be a bummer. It didn't bother me much though, because the combat had me wanting to cut the fluff. That's where this game shines the most, the combat and traversal, which is stylish enough in its vanilla state, but even more so when you utilize the game's crafting system known as karakuri. Karakuri doesn't work like Fortnite, contrary to popular belief, but rather provides a kit of hunting tools to aid the player taking down beasts, getting around the map, and more. For instance, there's a karakuri called Fireworks that works a lot like the Flash Bomb, where you can bring flying kimono out of the sky. There's one called the Flying Vine, where you can craft a zip line anywhere on the map to get to high or low ground. Karakuri, like the spring in the box, can be used to provide positional advantages, and they also have dedicated moves for each weapon, like how the Nodachi does this double slash. There are tons of karakuri, and I'd advise testing them all out and mixing and matching who uses what amongst your hunting party to get optimal use out of these. Overall, the combat and crafting is fluid, fun, and allows players to get creative, and thank God, because some of the kimono in this game require ingenuity to defeat because they are tough. I soloed this game for review purposes, so I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but some of these kimono were kicking my ass. It was a humbling moment for me because I've blown through the last several Monster Hunter games without a sweat, but this game definitely had me unlearning some of my old habits and really upping the ante mentally to get through the more challenging sections of the game. It's definitely one of those RPGs where you're better off upgrading your equipment before jumping into the next fight too quickly. But overall, it was a welcome challenge, and since the difficulty scales when you're playing with parties, I think folks will have a great time sweating while taking down kimono in this game. Now, let's clear up one misconception. Wild Hearts is published by EA's Originals branch. Only published. The IP is actually owned and developed by Koei Tecmo and Omega Force respectively, whom you may know for everything from Neo to Dynasty Warriors. I get it, and I don't blame you guys. There's obviously a distrust for EA out there, which is why the studio has been adamant in stressing that this game will have no microtransactions and a solid post-launch plan with plenty of free content. The developers also made it clear that they are big fans of Monster Hunter and wanted to give the genre their own spin. And there's obvious comparisons this game will get to Monster Hunter. I did an entirely separate video on that, but when it's all said and done, this game does more than enough to set itself apart, and some of these things are upgrades to Monster Hunter's more dated systems. If you're open-minded and consider yourself a veteran of the Monster Hunter series, this will definitely scratch the itch of waiting on the next game. And if you're someone who's been meaning to hop into the hunting genre, but neither Dauntless nor Monster Hunter were appealing to you, Wild Hearts could be the game you've been waiting for. But this game is awesome, definitely a nice surprise to start the year, and the game I think we'll be talking about for months to come, barring the support from the devs is as they said it'd be. This is the first game this year I feel does a good job serving the co-op multiplayer audience, so you might want to check it out.